Yo, what's poppin' everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Zach Lesage here. Today we are going to be covering over an early version of Charizard EX from the Stellar Crown format. Now, Charizard EX has been released for well over a year now, but it has gained some new buffs from Stellar Crown, like Briar and Grand Tree. Are these enough to make the deck better than it ever was? Well, it is currently the #1 performing deck in Japan in their Stellar Crown format, so I'm excited to cover over my list, which is available in the description for anyone to copy paste into the Limitless deck builder, since the set is not 100% officially available on PTCG Live as of right now. That being said, let's jump into it. Charizard EX is one of the best decks in our Stellar Crown format, and it has to do with a lot of the buffs that we've received from this set. So we look at this deck and it looks very much like a Charizard deck that we could have seen do well at Worlds, or at any point since we got Dusknoir, which is still relatively new. But the first card that we're going to be looking at is Briar. Now, Briar really takes this deck to the next level, and the reason why it takes this deck to the next level is because it has the opportunity to draw extra prize cards. If we look at some of the best decks available ever, Arceus Algapalkia, if we look towards even Iron Hands EX, there's these opportunities to draw extra prize cards. Briar does that. So it says, during this turn, if your opponent has exactly 2 prize cards remaining, if your opponent's active Pokemon is knocked out by damage from one of your attacks used by a Terra Pokemon, take 1 more prize card. So that's a whole bunch of blah, 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 blah. Charizard is a Terra type Pokemon, because it has the whole Terra, they have the crown, whatever, it uses it. And if your opponent's at 2 prize cards, you can knock out your opponent's active and draw an extra prize card. Well, that breaks this deck, because if you've ever played Pokemon in the past little bit and you're trying to knock out Pokemon, you go 2 prizer, 2 prizer, 2 prizer, and that gets you your 6 prize cards. Pretty easy when it comes down to it. Well, Charizard now has access to Briar, and if your opponent ever puts a single prize card Pokemon, so let's say you're playing against a Raging Bolt, turn 1, you're forced to knock out a Sandy Shocks, the basic one. You're at 5 prize cards, your opponent knocks you out, they're at 4 prize cards. You knock out their their Raging Bolt, whatever, you're at 3 prize cards. They knock out your Charizard, they're at 2 prize cards. Now you're at 3 prize cards, they're at 2 prize cards. You could just knock them out with Briar and win the game. So half the battle about Briar is your opponent getting the 2 prize cards, maybe being able to change the prize card trade a little bit. But this is where Dusknoir takes it to another level. We now have the opportunity to use Dusknoir to get our opponent to 2 prize cards, forcing them to draw a prize card. We can activate Briar, and maybe we draw a prize card from the Dusknoir to take us from 4 prize cards to 3 prize cards. Now we can knock out a 2 prize card Pokemon. So we have a lot of really cool combos when it comes to Briar, forcing your opponent to draw prize cards, and us potentially taking a 4+ prize card turn when it comes to Charizard. So games might be a little bit more sudden, things might be a little bit more immediate. Now, that's half the battle. We have Grand Tree as the other one. So Grand Tree is the new A-Spec Stadium. Once during each player's turn, that player may search your deck for a stage 1 Pokemon that evolves one of their Pokemon that's already been in play. So it basically follows normal evolution rules. If your Pokemon has already been in play for a turn where you otherwise would have been able to evolve, you could search your deck, evolve that Pokemon from a basic to a stage 1. So hence why we have the Charmeleon, which we typically would always have, and we have the Pidgeotto as well. If you do that, you may now search your deck for a stage 2 Pokemon that evolves from that Pokemon you just evolved, and then evolve that. So reasonably, we can go turn 1, Charmander, Pidgey, Duskull, pass. Now we can go pop down Grand Tree, evolve Pidgey into Pidgeotto, searching our deck, of course. You search your deck, evolve into Pidgeotto, and then evolve into Pidgeot, activating quick search as early as our turn 2. Now, you could do it for Charmeleon and Charizard. The one thing that you might want to hold back on is Charizard EX. You cannot activate that ability, because Infernal Rain, in order for it to activate, you have to play this card down from your hand, not searching it down from your deck. You could also go Duskull, evolve into Dusclops, evolve into Dusknoir. So we have some really cool ways to evolve, and we could stop at any point. pretty sure the way that the card works is that if you evolve into a Pidgeotto, that if you, let's say the two Pidgeot are in your hand, that you could evolve from your hand after that. I still haven't seen the English full release. I mean, this is literally before the set, like, pre-release are still going on at the time of this video. So if anyone in the comment is a judge and they're like, hey, yeah, you want to know what, Zach, you're wrong there. Regardless, breaking the rules of evolution, being able to search your deck for those evolution cards, and unlocking Pidgeot just by searching it out. Think about all the great turns that we've seen with Pidgeot, where you're like, yeah, Rare Candy Pidgeot, search for an Arven, search for Forest Sealstone, search for Rare Candy Charizard with the Forest Sealstone. Now we have the opportunity to kind of get all these extra pieces with another card. And at any point in the game, we could be getting out a Charmeleon. We could even evolve a Charizard that we could power up with another Charizard. We can get out a Dusknoir. We have a lot of really cool ways, on top of it being a stadium bump, so if your opponent has something like a Pokestop in play, you can just shut them off. I mean, obviously your opponent can benefit from it as well. I recently played the Charizard versus Dragapult matchup, and Grand Tree was played out. I was able to evolve my Dragapults really nicely. You give and you take, but if you're able to be Charizard, where you're super consistent, drawing extra prize cards, being disruptive, and making that Dusknoir line look really easy now to get out. We took a deck that can sometimes be inconsistent, or was already pretty consistent, but like sometimes you didn't always get what you wanted. Now it's uber consistent, all pure consistency across the board, and we've cut a lot of the text from this deck just to kind of have these huge explosive turns towards the end of the game, making Pokemon really exciting, really comeback mechanic, and of course drawing 4+ prize cards in a turn, or 3+ prize cards in a turn to win, really unlocking a lot of potential when it comes from the deck. So I think there's some really cool ways to enjoy this deck and really try it out. Like I said, there is a version of this deck that does play Noctowl and Barrel and Fan Rotom that can search those out, and maybe even Area Zero under depths to have a larger bench. Like, there is the new colorless type Pokemon engine that might be interesting, and that's something to really consider when it comes down to it, because Pidgeot's already colorless, Noctowl, Barrel. We have opportunities to make Charizard whatever we really want. And I've seen versions that play the Deluxe or Giant Bomb A-Spec, Prime Catcher, Unfair Stamp, Hero's Cape. Charizard really embodies our new kind of A-Spec metagame, where we have a lot of different ways that we can approach this deck. But at the end of the day, we're still trying to go Rare Candy, Charizard, Accelerate Energies, scale Burning Darkness, and knock out our opponent's Pokemon. And it's so powerful because it has a lot of HP, has pretty solid typing. Burning Darkness scales as the game progresses. So that's really the big moments when it comes to this deck. And I think that's huge. And almost everything around it is just trying to make sure that Charizard is alive and well, doing cool Charizard things. So that's really my updated take. Pretty basic version of this deck. But basic doesn't mean bad. Basic could be incredibly effective. We've seen top players like Tord Reklev, they either go wild, crazy, cool techs, or they go, we're just going to play the most basic, easy to set up version so our deck can complete its strategy. This is a great starting place for the Stellar Crown format, and I hope you got a chance to try this deck out, whether you're playing it with some of the new cards you got from the pre-release, if you were lucky to get enough Grand Tree and Briar, or if you're just taking a Sharpie on some energy cards like I would, and be like Briar, so you can test with your friends on your kitchen table. If you're needing any of the cards for these decks, our sponsors at Kayfabe Cards and PTCGL Store will have Stellar Crown available on their websites, available for pre-order or available when the set releases on September 13th. Hopefully you're able to get all the cards necessary for these for this deck, and any of the cards that you might not necessarily have, check them out in our description. That being said, let me close things out. And that's what we got going on for our Charizard EX early Stellar Crown video. There are a handful of different ideas that I have with this deck, whether it's playing Area Zero Under Depths, Fan Rotom, Bidoof, playing Noctowl. There's a lot of things that we could be doing when it comes to this deck, and I'm honestly not sure which way to go into the direction. There's either the new colorless engine or there's this version. And this is what I really wanted to cover today because it's the one that I think is the most digestible. It takes us from Charizard where it was to Charizard getting closer to where it is now. And whether or not I'm bang on 100% 60 card deck, it's the best version of Charizard or not, it is a starting point. And that's what I really like to showcase with these early decks. I have been playtesting these decks on the PvP tabletop app. So if you want to get a chance to check that out, it's sick. It allows you to test with some early cards. Other than that, I mean, we'll see how the rest of the metagame shapes up. This metagame starts to be legal for Dortmund and Joinville regionals later this month. And of course, the following week, I'm going to be going to the special event in Lima, Peru, to play the format myself at my first in real life major this season. Really appreciate all the support and love on the channel lately. We've been hitting great views, great audience, everything. So I really appreciate all y'all for tuning in. And if you're ever looking to improve your game, be sure to hit me up for some coaching on Metafy. I have my link available in the description. Totally would love to help you on your Pokemon journey. That being said, I am going to catch up with everyone on Friday with the top 10 best decks. We're going to be doing the Shrouded Fable format for that one. Otherwise, every other video should be focusing on Stellar Crown after this week. So stay tuned for all of that and more. I'll catch up with all y'all later. Peace out and have a great one. Want to support the Shuffle Squad? Be sure to check out all of our sponsors in the description to pick up Pokemon TCG singles, sealed, and PTCG live codes. You made it to the end. Thank you so much for watching this entire video from the Shuffle Squad. Honestly, from the bottom of our hearts, we appreciate each and every person that supports our content, watches what we have going on every single day, every single week, even from time to time, and continuously allows us to have a forum to project our creative content towards the Pokemon TCG community. So if you haven't already, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and even leave a comment to help boost the YouTube algorithm. That being said, we'll catch you with our next video. Thanks again. Take it easy.